ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी चारिणि निर्विशेषणदेशकारिणि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवासदि गौर हरे कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण. This is a very important section as Sarojini is discussing. So we are also in the same chapter. We'll just revise what we have discussed. It's a double revision for all of you. So here Brahmaji is making special prayers. Especially this is for is addressing the Lord, and because it is in connection with creation, the mood is different and the prayers are also different. So, in relation with creation means it should be in relation with the living entities. And when it comes to different, because I told almost every canto Brahmaji has some prayers, but according to the context. So here it's related to creation, living entities. That means it will be different categories of living entities. The first thing is this, my Lord, today, after many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Then immediately he says, oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. As soon as he saw the Lord's form, he felt compassion for somebody who didn't get that darshan. This is actually what happens. A person gets realization, he starts developing this compassion. And you are the only object because there is nothing, uh, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond. If there is anything supposedly superior to it, it is not the absolute. You exist as a supreme by the exhibition of creative energy of matter. So, in this way, he is clearly explaining and is showing. And then we discussed how concentration of matter on the matter is actually what is holding us. And by hearing about the Lord, our concentration or consciousness will be absorbed in the Supreme Lord. And next look is the form which I see is eternally free from material contamination and had advented to show mercy to the devotees as a manifestation of internal potency. This incarnation is the origin of many other incarnations. So this is how he is able to see the Supreme. I am born from the lotus flower, grown from your navel. Now he is seeing the form, he is appreciating, and we discussed how Purushavasaras are neutral, but Leela they perform certain reciprocations. So this is how Advaita Acharya he was praying for Lord to appear because he is in a neutral state. But he wanted to give compassion. That's why he said, my dear Lord, you appear. Because Lord is Samoham Sarvabhuteshu Nameteshtosti na priya is Paramatma. E bhajantu tamam bhaktya maite teshasam is the form of it. Then he says, my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your personal Brahman effulgence in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of internal potency. I surrender unto you because whereas I am proud of my material body and senses, your Lordship is a cause of cosmic manifestation, and yet you are touched by matter. Now he saw the form, he appreciated. Now he's offering prayers to it. Oh, this form which I am seeing, this is this is something very special, and I surrender unto you because I am proud of my material body and senses. It is this is the reason he gives. Now after surrendering, now he starts. So he saw the form. He said, "Oh, I am so fortunate. I surrender to this form." Now from here onwards, he starts giving different characters. This present form or any transcendental form expanded with the Supreme Personality of God Sri Krishna is especially auspicious for all universe. So the appreciation is telling this is auspicious for all the universe. Since you have manifested this eternal personal form unto whom your devotees meditate, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Those who are destined to be dispatched to the path of hell neglect your personal form because of speculation on material topics. This is very important. If we are so much meditating on material topic, even the Lord is there in the house also will not be able to appreciate much. We don't deal with him as a person. Why we don't deal with a person? Because of speculation on material topics. So much is there to discuss on material topics. The personal form of Lord is not so much. The impersonal conception is there in everyone till he attains to a very good stage of bhakti. And to deal with Lord as a person is not so easy. To get that much faith is quite tough. But by bhakti one can overcome nirvisesha shunyavadi. So we have discussed three types of mayavadis. Where people are considering Lord's form as material, some are saying we all can become Krishna, I am Krishna, and all such categories are. And then he says, "Oh my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service for them. You are never separated from the lotus of their hearts." So, two categories. One is if we are so much speculating on material objects, will not be able to understand the Lord. But persons who smell the aroma of lotus carried by the Vedic sound. So, what these people are doing? They are hearing. For them, you are never separated. So these people are hearing what spiritual subject matters. And previous category of people, they are hearing mundane subject. So that's a formula is simple. So if you hear Vedic sound, so this is the method that is given. So in the previous topic, if you are so much on material, now especially in India, so much on news because of elections and all, which will help us become very easily impersonal. Since we should be very, even such a disturbing state. So we have to be very careful in such situations, not to get distracted with all these things. Because all these mundane subjects, this is already decided what should happen, how it should happen. Why we want to listen news and why we want to know about what is happening? Because there is a controller mentality. We still want to be the controllers. And by hearing such things, we feel I am in control. I have, we feel we are controllers and we want to be in control of things. And we want to, by knowing, we feel I am controller. Let's say the news is there and people are so much interested in what is happening around and all these things. So here, but if we are focusing on hearing Bhagavatam, where we are happy hearing the glories of Krishna. That's a big achievement. I mean, every day morning, instead of news, we hear Bhagavatam. This is very easy. And then we have discussed the ninth one also. my Lord, the people of this world are embraced by material anxieties. Yes, Gail Mataji.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, I wasn't able to get the connection between the desire to hear these news topics and our desire for controllership.
Yeah, but there is a mentality to be a controller by knowing like what is happening around. We feel that I am in control of things. If I don't know, then it's okay. But I come to know, then I feel there is something happening and I know what is happening. This is a subtle way to control. The mentality is controlling mentality, or knowing about, like, say, I am the boss of this, I am the first boss of this company. Then I feel that I should know everything what is happening in this company. Every small detail, everybody should come and report to me. Even though it is not relevant, but I feel that everything should be reported to me because that mentality is there of control. And if something happens without my notice and it is not informed to me, I feel offended because there is control mentality. Even though it didn't make much difference, but still, it's a subtle way. Similarly, what is happening in this world should be known to me as if I am in control of it. Without my notice, how somebody can become the prime minister of our country. So it should be known to me who is the prime minister, who is doing what in this world, and what all things wrong and good are happening in this world. It's a very subtle way to know. If we are not informed, we feel little uncomfortable. Without my notice, how things are happening. It's like that. It's not very gross, but it's a subtle way.
Yeah, because there must be subtle because you're saying that it nourishes this feeling of controllership, even though you don't feel potent to do anything about it.
Yeah. We cannot do, we don't have control, but we feel that control by knowing only.
No, but I'm saying even people who know I can't do anything about this situation, you know, yet you're saying even though they do know that, they this knowing about what's happening gives them a sense of control. That's what's kind of hard to match up, you know. A person who knows they cannot do anything to change the situation, yet they feel controlled simply by knowing what's going on.
In a subtle way, because some things we like, especially we are informed certain things. That means basically the tendency who has the controller tendency, they are more interested to know what is happening around. May not be all, but some of them who has more controller mentality, they will be more interested to know what things are happening. So they go around wherever they are working or wherever they are there in the neighborhood and all. They want to know what is happening in the neighborhood, what is happening around the place where they are staying, or in the office, or around the country. All these things, the tendency to know is also in one way a controller mentality.
Yeah, maybe it's because, you know, even if you feel like you can't do anything, but by knowing you would be in a better position to, you know, there's like a better potential for being able to do something than if you didn't know it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, there is this mentality is it is connected to that mentality of controller mentality only.
Okay. Okay.
Mentality
Yeah.
is connected to that. Knowing is because of that only. Otherwise, otherwise we don't need many things, but somehow I also feel maybe I should also be updated with what is happening. But this updated is this is the tendency is there, subtle way.
Yeah. I see. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
And if by knowing this now next time onwards when I am trying to do this, then I'll be a little careful. I think I don't need to know all these things because anyway I'm not controller. Then we'll be little peaceful and will not be in anxiety, know what is happening around. Because we know anyway I cannot do much about it. So what is the point? Let me be cool. I do not waste my time in knowing so many things that are happening around the world. So this is somebody has so much habit of reading newspapers and going through the news. They can motivate themselves by saying, I am not a controller, Krishna is controlling. Let it be whatever way Krishna wants. Why should I waste my time in all these things? In that way, he can be very peaceful and get rid of his habit. And any other place wherever he is working or working.
You said, what was the last thing you said? Anyway, what?
Wherever, anyway, it is going to happen the way Krishna wants. So why should I be in
Oh.
anxiety? Wherever I am,
Oh.
I can be cool and just be focused on what I am doing instead of bothering about what is happening around. I keeping updated with everything that is happening. I need not waste my time on this. I can save so much of my time. After hearing this point, I heard this from Bhakti Gyanmar. Immediately, it became so light for me also. Maybe I can get rid of this mentality. And I didn't know what is wrong about knowing. Then I understood, yeah, the wrong is because the mentality is wrong. It helped me a lot by knowing that I am not in control. So no need of knowing all the things that are happening. What are relevant for me, sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Says that my Lord, the people of the world are embraced by all material anxieties. They are always afraid. They are always trying to protect their wealth, body, friends. They are filled with lamentation and unlawful desires concerning their paraphernalia, and they avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of my and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are full of such anxieties. This is a very important point to understand. So, first is they are full of lamentations and they're always trying to protect their wealth, body, and friends. They're full of lamentations and unlawful desires concerning their paraphernalia. They viciously base their undertaking on the perishable conceptions of me and mine. And also embraced, always afraid, unless they take shelter of Lord's lotus feet, they are full of anxieties. This is what is happening around. Now the point is, even after knowing, so the previous verse he told, if you are absorbed in matter, you are caught. If you hear about Lord, you are free. And presently the situation of people is they are full of anxiety, lamentations, because they always try to protect. What are they protecting? Their wealth, body, and friends. Lamentations and unlawful desires. All these things are what is the present situation. Unfortunately, this is what are so much time is spent by people. And Prabhupada asks a very nice question. So, how can one can always think of Lord in regard to his name, fame, and qualities if one is embraced by thoughts of family and affairs? So then everyone in this material world is full of thoughts about how to maintain family, how to protect his wealth, how to keep peace with friends and relatives. And thus he's always in fear and lamentation, trying to maintain the status quo. To answer this question, this verse for Brahma is very appropriate. Prabhupada says, a pure devotee of Lord never thinks of himself as a proprietor of his home. So the first solution, what is given is a pure devotee never thinks of. He surrenders everything onto the, this is very important, onto the supreme control of Lord, and thus he has no fear for maintaining his family or protecting the interest of his family. Because of this surrender, he no longer has any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense gratification, but for the service of the Lord. This is very important. The first thing he thinks, he is not the proprietor. As soon as we start thinking that I am not the proprietor, immediately we are free from all these anxieties. Lord is a meditator. In Sharanagati, the main component of Sharanagati is both Vardam. Lord is my maintainer. Lord is my maintainer. I am not the proprietor of anything. If he is giving, he is maintaining, that means he will protect. I need not go to anybody for protection. I just have to do what is favorable to him, does not do what is unfavorable. That's all. Life is so peaceful for such people. And such a nice formula Brahmaji is giving. And a pure devotee may appear to be attracted to accumulating wealth, just like ordinary man. But the difference is that devotee acquires money for the service of Lord, whereas ordinary man acquires money for self gratification. That means no need of stopping acquiring money. Can acquire. We should clear with the purpose. Identity is the false ego should be clear. Thus, the acquisition of wealth by a devotee is not a source of anxiety as the cause of for a worldly man. And because that means wealth is cause of anxiety, purpose is not clear. Pure devotee, because a pure devotee accepts everything for the purpose of it, the poisonous state of accumulating wealth are extracted. If the snake has its poisonous teeth removed, even if bites also, nothing happens. This is what Prabhupada is speaking it very easily, but it is very difficult to apply. The pure devotee is never entangled in material worldly affairs, even though he may remain in the world like an ordinary man. Only solution is just give up the proprietor mentality. That's a simple solution Brahmaji is giving. So, very simple solution according to Brahmaji. If you stop giving proprietor mentality, you will not think only about all these anxieties, no anxieties. And then next also, this is all we completed. I'm doing revision only. Oh my Lord, persons who are bereft of all auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate. So now he's telling that okay, these people who hear, they who don't hear, they have this problem. Who hear, they will be able to do it. Most of the people are so much in anxiety, and he's telling they are hearing about your transcendent activities certainly unfortunate, also bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activity. First, sense gratification for a very little while. So they have this problem. The problem is first is they are full of anxieties, and they are also doing inauspicious for themselves. And now the next question is why people are against such auspicious activities of chanting. Okay, Baba, you are in anxieties, you are in tensions. Better do good things, na? Why you are further doing inauspicious activities only which causes you more pain, hearing and chanting, which can bring them total freedom from the cares of anxiety and sense gratification, right? That was the problem is explained in the previous verse. So now Brahma is telling the reason why they are not taking solution. The answer to this question is that they are unfortunate because of supernatural control due to their offensive activities performed simply for the sake of sense gratification. The Lord's pure devotee, however, take compassion upon such unfortunate persons and is in a missionary spirit try to persuade them to take to the line of devotional service. Only by the grace of pure devotee, such unfortunate men can be elevated to the position of transcendence. So why they are unfortunate? Because they did not get the association of devotees. Therefore, unfortunate. They are unfortunate because did not get association. That's why they remain like that, even though they know. And Ramaji further says, O great actor, my lord, all the poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion and bile, attacked by the coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong, indefatigable sex urge and indomitable anger. I take pity on them, and I am very much aggrieved for them. So, and then he's further explaining how much living entity suffers, what all ways he is suffering. First, he's telling his constant anxiety to protect. So, for that, he has to give up what? The proprietor mentality. And then he says he's always engaged in unfortunate activities because he's not able to get the association of devotees. And then he says this poor creature is constantly perplexed by, apart from this, there is hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, bile, attacked by coughing winter, lasting summer, and so many other activities. So all these things are because of uh, this is all these things are affecting him. So then there is sex urge and then anger and so many things. And Brahma is feeling so much pity on him. This is what is happening to the people. Right. And Brahma is quite compassionate. And then next shloka says, O my lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for soul. Now he's giving his understanding about him. So they are suffering in so many ways. They are not able to do anything. They are so unfortunate. Then he says, the material miseries are without factual existence. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as means of sense enjoyment, it cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries being influenced by your external element. So he gives the reason, reason for suffering. So what is the reason? Reason is influence of external energy. This is the main reason. And what this influence of external does, he makes the conditioned souls sees the body as a means of sense enjoyment. So because of this, because of the effect of Maya, external energy, he starts identifying himself with the body. As such, we have discussed the soul does not suffer, and also the ego does not suffer. Who suffers? The identity only is the problem. So the soul does not suffer. And then does the false ego, will it suffer? No, false ego doesn't because it is a matter. It's unconscious. It's a dead matter. And soul is always Sachidananda. Then who is suffering? So this is a question. Who is suffering? Soul or false ego? Both don't suffer. Soul also don't suffer because it is always Sachidananda. False ego, like say somebody slapped me. Like, childhood, our English teacher used to make girls slap boys if they don't do their homework or did performance. And the slap is not very hard to the body, does not pain much. But the slap from a girl hurts the false ego for a boy. Now, what it is paining is false ego. That means false ego suffers. But false ego, as such, is coming from Mahatattva. It's a matter. So then soul suffers. No, soul is always Sachidananda. It is eternal bliss and full of knowledge. Where is the question of suffering for the soul? But this is the very nice technology that Lord created. So he made soul identify with the matter. So the soul's identity is the cause of suffering. So this is the cause of suffering. Like this is what is Maya is created. Like say we experience pain. Why we experience pain? Say now we give the example if somebody is watching a movie. Is watching two examples. Say you are in a dream, and I get sometimes dream that I am again writing my exams. Such a big nightmare for me. And I wake up, I feel so relieved. But again, I am writing exam. It was like a big nightmare for me. Now, did I write exam? No. Did I? There was any exam hall? No. Did there any newsletter, any subject to read? Nothing. But still, in the dream, I was suffering. Why I was suffering? Because I am identifying myself in the dream. There is no reality, but the identity is causing me suffering. Similarly, if I take another example, is the person is watching a movie. He identified so much with the character in the movie. If something happens to the actor or actresses in the movie, he's so much feeling pain. Is it real? No. Is really something happening to them? No, they are just acting. And even that is also is not directly just seeing some screen, some lights are falling on the screen. As such, even that is also not the action is also not true. What is seeing in front of him is also not true because some lighting is changing here there. But still, we identify so strongly that we feel emotional for it. That is now who is suffering, the soul or false ego? And the point is, nobody suffers, but there is a special arrangement by the Lord, which is the influence of externality, which makes us that connection. The connection is cause of suffering. Now, what is told? The condition sees the body as a means of enjoyment. So the connection is the main problem. That is the reason we all suffer. So what we have to do? Just give up the false ego. Suppose. So the connection is the cause. So as soon as we stop identifying ourselves with body and mind, we are free. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma is free. But if I identify, the soul identifies strongly with false ego, then finish. We have to go through it. The whole trouble of living entity in material existence is that he has an independent conception of life. He is always dependent on the rules of supreme, both the condition liberation. But by the influence of externality, the condition so thinks himself independent of the supremacy of the personality of God. His constitutional position is to dovetail himself with the desire of the supreme will. But as long as he does not do so, he is sure to drag on in the shackles of material bondage. He has, he has to give all sorts of plan manufactured by mental compulsion. The living entity has to dovetail himself with the will of Supreme. That will help him to get out of the entanglement of. So Prabhupada is not addressing the problem. Prabhupada is directly giving the solution in this purpose. What Prabhupada is telling, if you want to get rid of this influence of Maya, what we should do? We have to just to give up all sorts of plans manufactured. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Manogatan kama. Manogatan kama. All the manufactured desires by mental concoction. So you should give up all plans which are manufactured by the mental concoctions. All plans by mental. Then what happens? Then he'll be free from this bondage. Now, because we strongly identify with, strongly identify with body and plans of mind. This is what plans and desires of mind. Plans to basically do sense gratification, right? So these are the things that are causing us the bondage. Prabhupada is telling, no. Just this is the solution. What you do? Accept the will of the Supreme Lord. Whatever is happening to us, let it be the way what Lord wants. It's not my way, my Lord, let it be your way. Clear. So we'll start from here, our discussion. Yes, Umakant Prabhu.
Here, I just want to relate something from the Ramayana, Prabhu. Okay.
Yeah.
So this will be very helpful for all the people. What happens is that King Dashratha Maharaj once, he want to come, make him Lord Rama as a crown prince. So
Yeah.
a day before he sends, he sends the message. He calls him, Lord Rama, and says that, Rama, now tomorrow I'm going to make you a crown prince. So be ready for that. There are a lot of formalities like taking bath and all those things. So morning I'll make you a crown prince. And but Rama says that, oh, today my brothers are not there with me. Okay, so he has gone out. Actually, the brothers went to other. Bharata went to Bharata and Shatrughna were not available in the country during that time. So they were actually far away from the parents. They went to their maternal uncle's house. So Lord Rama says to King Dashratha, "Is this the right time? Because I'm feeling I'll be missing the company of Bharata and all. Shatrughna is also not there. But don't you think this is not a correct time?" So Dashratha says, "No problem. Again, when they comes, then you can in front of them, I'll make you a king. Nothing to worry. So tomorrow, be ready for this crown, making a crown prince." So what happens is he declares everything in the Ayodhya that Rama is going to be a crown prince, and this is he'll become a king after me. So same day evening, what happens? He goes to his wife. That he goes to the wife. The wife asked Kaikeyi, and she asked for 3 boons, and out of which 13 years he was to send to the forest. So when he comes, Lord Rama comes to that place. That place. Kaikeyi was actually telling that this is your wish of your parent, that you have to go to the forest for 13 years. Now, during that time, Lakshmana reacts in a very bad way. But Lord Rama says that this is the will of the God, and you have to accept it. So this acceptance, if it is not there, it is very difficult. So Lord Rama happily accepts that will of Lord, and he says that yesterday the same king was telling me to become the crown prince, and today the will of my father is that I have to go to the forest. So Lakshmana, are you not seeing the will of Lord here? Why are you missing the basic point that this is not the will of my father or not will of my Kaikeyi or anybody else? This is the will of Lord. So let us accept it and go to the forest. This is what Lord Rama says to his brother Lakshmana during Ramayana. So it reminds me of that. Maybe for us, we have too much attachments to our hierarchical roles, like false identities, like father, mother, employee, and to all other temporary roles. So it is very difficult for us to come out of the situation. There should be some technique, like a hypnosis technique.
No, the technique is the technique is we need to have a spiritual master whom we identify, then we start identifying ourselves as a servant of our spiritual master, and we start working for his pleasure. That's why Guru is so important in spiritual life. Without spiritual master, we don't progress. That is the only way. And then accepting his will. Then Guru says, do this, do this, do this. And then we make progress. What happens is, as soon as we connect ourselves with Guru, the false ego changes, the emotion changes, everything changes. So that's the formula that is given for us. And that's why association, even Brahma is going to say, one of the solutions is, this is the solutions he is going to suggest also. Everybody suggests the solution. Association of devotees, identifying ourselves as servant of devotees.
Okay.
Yeah. Without Guru, there is no way. The only way is through spiritual master. That he makes that whatever hypnosis, whatever you are telling, is he gives us that real ego as I am servant ego. Servant ego is what is needed for all of us.
Yeah. But okay. Even any of the practices where, apart from that, ego does not change, you mean to say?
No, ego don't. That's why even if somebody goes to Himalayas and do great austerities there, that's why Krishna tells Klesho Adhikataraste. It's so difficult because the ego is still remaining. And even though practice is very tough going to Himalayas and doing, it's a very tough practice, but still the goal they reach is not very high. But here, the process of bhakti, it looks very simple, but it's not simple because you are working directly with ego. In that way, even though it looks superficially, it looks very simple, but it's not simple because we are dealing directly with our ego. That's why it is tough. And because we are dealing with ego, we will get the highest benefit also. We can go to Himalayas and stay there eating 1 carrot a day. It is tough, but it is easier than giving up false ego and being under somebody, serving them, accepting their will, which is much more tough because ego is much settler than in mind. When you go to Himalayas, what is the control? Control of mind and senses. But the settler than mind and senses is ego. That is the process of bhakti, which is more difficult.
So, for example, Prabhu, if I'm following Yama, Niyama, Asana, Dhyana, Dharana, Pratyahara, Samadhi, this path also, and also I'm a devotee of Lord. Does it help?
Yeah, they have to have this aspect of bhakti also, otherwise they will not progress. Even if they go to Himalayas, they need to have bhakti element in the practice. Even samadhi, even the Patanjali also gives that. The method is that they have to practice the limbs of bhakti along with the yoga elements. Then only they make progress. Even jnana and yoga, they should have this bhakti element to progress. After that, they attain so-called perfection, they give it up. But without bhakti, there is no question of progress. And there are some people who are yoga mishra bhaktas, like Kardamuni. He did yoga, but he is a bhakta. He used the process of yoga, but he was practicing bhakti only. And in that way, he got darshan of Lord. There are some people, yoga mishra bhaktas. And they are called Pradhani Buddha bhaktas. Like that.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Kelmata, you have something? Previous.
Sorry, Prabhu, previous.
Okay, nice. Now, Brahma is further telling, such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and extensive work, and thus they suffer insomnia at night because their intelligence constantly break their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this middle road. This is a very nice thing. So what Brahmaji, we see the connection. So in the previous shloka is telling that, oh, why are they suffering? Because they are so much identifying with the body as a means of sense enjoyment, and this is the external energy. And in this he says that such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and this is a very troublesome and extensive work, and they suffer insomnia at night because of their intelligence constantly breaks upon various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all various plans. This is very important. They are frustrated by various super plans by supernatural powers. Even great sages also, they are doing so much, but they are not into transcendental topics. They did so much tapasya, but they are not practicing bhakti. They also rotate in the middle road. So the point here is what Brahma is trying to make the connection. See that how if you don't continue, then there is what all ways. He told how they are suffering because of their attachments to their proprietor mentality, and they are doing inauspicious activities. And then he told how hunger, thirst, this, that, anger, sex desires, they are troubling them. Now he's telling they are engaged in senses in a very troublesome, extensive work. And they suffer in the night, they are suffering because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. This is what is causing insomnia. Now, no need of intelligence. People don't use intelligence and stay whole night awake also because they're in front of a TV or mobile. That is also breaking their sleep. They're not able to sleep properly. They're frustrated by various plans by supernatural powers. They make so many plans that is also frustrating. And this is what, as described previously, people who have no taste for devotional service are occupied by material engagement. So this is the connection. People who have no taste for devotional service to Lord are occupied. It is told they are doing inauspicious activities. What all types of activities? Most of them engage during daytime in hard physical labor. Their senses are engaged very extensive in troublesome duties in gigantic plants of heavy industrial enterprise. The owners of such factories are engaged in finding a market for their industrial product, and the labor are engaged in extensive production involving huge mechanical arrangements. Factory is another name of for hell. This is Ropa's definition of a factory. It's called another hell. At night, hellishly engaged persons take advantage of wine and women to satisfy their tired senses. And this is another big problem. But they are not even able to have sound sleep because their various mental speculative plans constantly interrupt their sleep. Because they suffer from insomnia, sometimes they feel sleepy in the morning for lack of sufficient rest. By the arrangement of supernatural power, even the great scientists, thinkers of the world suffer frustrations for their various plans and thus rot in the world, material world, birth after birth. So nicely, Prabhupada is diagnosing what is happening here in this material world. This is another very important point. Why people say, okay, I work hard and I get it. That is the formula people apply. They say you work hard, you will achieve. And all the people who work hard, they achieve. But the problem is there is some other elements there. They are the supernatural powers who don't let the things happen. Even if you work hard, there is no guarantee because some other factor is involved there. That is the reason it is not just hard work that matters, also karma matters. A great scientist may make discoveries into atomic energy for the quick destruction of the world and maybe award the best prize in recognition of his service. But he also has to undergo the reactions of his works by rotting in the cycle of repeated birth and death under the superhuman laws of material nature. This is the important one. His rotting cycle because there is hemorrhage above. All these people who are against the principles of devotional service are destined to rot in the material world without faith. This verse particularly mentions that even sages who are averse to the principles of devotional service to the Lord are also condemned to undergo the terms of material existence. Not only this age, but formerly also, there were many sages who tried to invent their own system of religions without reference to devotional service to Supreme Lord. But there cannot be any religious principles without devotional service to the Lord. The Supreme Lord is the leader of entire range of living entities, and no one can be equal or greater than him. Even the Lord's impersonal features and all pervading localized features cannot be on an equal level with personality of God. Therefore, there cannot be any religion or system of genuine philosophy for the advancement of the living entity without the principle of devotional service. The impersonalists who take much trouble in the penance and austerities of self-relation may approach impersonal Brahmajyoti, but ultimately because they do not do, then they Arusha Kuchena Param Padam Tataha. Therefore, no one can manufacture any system of religion without the principles of devotional service. So only no one can manufacture any system of religion without the principles of devotional service. As we find in standard, the initiators of religious principle is the Lord Himself. Dharmantu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranita. Navai Vidur Vasayo Napi Deva Nasiddha Muktyo Asura Manasya Kutascha Vidyadara Charanadaya Swayambhur Narada Sam Kumara Kapilo Mano Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vayaskam Mayam Dadish Dada Shaiti Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Tata Guhyam Vasut Vishuddham Durbodham Yajna Amrita Ashmite. The principles of religions are initiated solely by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore no one else, including the sages and demigods, can manufacture any religious principle. Hence, even the great sages and such demigods as Brahma and Shiva are not authorized to inaugurate any religious principles, what to speak of others. That means only Lord does, only Lord makes all the principles. Nobody. Very clear. The principles of religion and solely by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore no one else, including the sages, demigods, can manufacture any religious principle. Dharmantu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranita. Since even the great sages and demigods, Brahma and Shiva, are not authorized to inaugurate any principles of religion, what to speak of others. Very clear. The principles of religion are not open to any ordinary. Nowadays, the people make their own constitution. Every country make their own constitution, and they regularly amend also that. And this is such a bogus thing, because the principles of religion are not open to any ordinary living entity. Because they make such foolish constitutions, everybody suffers, themselves and all the people and following generations and human, like they made this communism, capitalism, socialism, so on isms for frustration. Human, first of all, brought onto the platform of morality, non-violence, etc., are necessary for misguided persons, because unless one is moral and non-violent, one cannot understand the principles of religion. It is very difficult to understand what actual religion is, even if one is situated in the principle of morality and non-violence. Actual religion purpose is very confidential, even because as soon as one is conversant with the real principles of religion, one is liberated, enters into the path of eternal life, bliss and knowledge. Therefore, one who is not situated in the principles of devotional service to the Lord should not pose himself as a religious leader, the innocent. Andah tamah pravishanti. So Ishopanishad says, emphasizes, forbids the nonsense in the following. Andah tamah pravishanti e sambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivete tamo yeyu sambhutyam prata. The person in ignorance of principles of religion, who therefore does nothing in the matter of religion, is far better than a person who misguides others in the name of religion without reference to the factual religious principles of devotional service. Such foolish leaders of religion are sure to be condemned by Brahma and other great authorities. So this is next lesson. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita saroja आशेष सुतेषित पतो ननुनाथ पुंसां यद्धियात दुर्गाय विभावयन्ति तत्तत्त्वप्रणयस्येत सदनुग्रहाय. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their heart becomes cleansed, and you your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So this is a very important verse, because in this verse, Ramaji is trying to explain. Now he is changing the topic now. He just told how living entities are suffering, how badly they are suffering, and what all ways they are doing inauspicious activities, how material nature is casting them because of their identity, proprietor mentality, desire to enjoy the senses. And basically, he is explaining the piteous condition of a living entity. Then immediately he's telling, my dear Lord, but if somebody takes, even he's telling scientists, sages, that everybody is just rotting only here because of their mentality. But if your devotees can see you through the years of the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their heart becomes cleansed, and you are seated in their heart, and you are so merciful to your devotees that manufacturers in a particular eternal form of transition, they always think of you. Now he is telling, but my dear Lord, you are so merciful. You manifest yourself in a particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you, the devotees. He is immediately giving the position. Prabhupada writes the sentiment here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee is the form in which the devotees like to worship him, indicates that the Lord becomes subservient to the desires of the devotees. So much so that the Lord manifests his particular form as devotee demands. So even though the living entity suffers, but he becomes a devotee, Lord becomes subservient. This demand of devotee is satisfied by Lord because his demand satisfied because he is valuable in terms of transcendental loving service of the devotee. One should not, however, note, however, that the Lord is never order supplier. Hence, in this verse, it is particularly mentioned. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. This indicates the efficiency achieved through execution of mature devotional service or prema of love. This state of prema is achieved by gradual progress of development from faith to love. Now, the important thing is living entity is so minute, living entity is so small that he is captured by Maya very badly. But living entity has a potency to control Lord also. You're seeing the difference? We are so tiny that Maya captures and beats us left, right, center. But at the same time, the living entity is so powerful in terms of, because this is because of the efficiency achieved the execution of mature devotion or prema, love of God. This is actually what makes the devotee able to control the Lord. One faith, that means the quality, the living entity is made in such a way by the Lord, not made, they are there like that. That they have this, either they are captured by Maya or they can go to the other extreme, where supreme absolute truth is controlled by living entity. You can see the extreme difference. Here, so small that Maya captures us very badly. That so small can capture the complete absolute. One faith on faith, one associates with bona fide devotee, and by such association, one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service. which includes proper initiation and execution of primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This clearly indicates herein by the word Sutekshita. Sutekshita path is to hear from a bona fide devotee or conversant with basic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, a neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of Lord described in the Vedas. This attachment of devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servant of Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servant of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service, the relationship with the Lord eternally. This particular attachment is invoked by the practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. This attachment for a particular form of Lord called Swarupa Siddhi. The Lord sits in the heart, in the lotus heart of a devotee in the eternal form. The pure devotee desires, and the Lord does not part from the devotee, as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a cause or unauthentic worship to be exploited. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Naham Prakash Sarvasya. The Lord remains concealed when the non-devotees or casual devotees who are serving their senses. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord does not become an order supplier or pseudo devotee of a pseudo devotee, but he is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure, unconditioned devotee free from tinges of material infections. Hare Krishna. Brahma, his body is made of intelligence. He is not made of like our body. His body is different. Okay, thank you all very much. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada. Jai Chandra Sri